Here's a bird feeder I just made using the Pioneer Woman dishware. This one was called Pretty Posies. I really love the colors, so I got the dinner plate and the bowl, and then I added thrift store glass in between and glued it all together. So I'm going to show you how I made this. So today I'm going to make a bird feeder using Pioneer Woman dishes that I bought. You can get these at Walmart. And this one is called Pretty Posies. I really like the colors on this one. And I got the bowl to go with it. I got this one because it has a design on the side, so you'll be able to see it. Some of her dishes have the design on the inside, but I wanted it on the outside, so I picked that one. And I'm going to use one of these dip bowls. So this is a actual dinner plate and a cereal bowl, and this is a dip bowl. And then I'm going to use thrift store items that I bought. Got a candlestick holder. I think this is a candle holder. It's lead crystal, so it's heavy weight. I try to use lead crystal for these because it's a little bit stronger than regular glass. So I thought that one was really pretty. And I've got blue gems and these little dishes here. I'll show you what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna use this clear epoxy. I usually use JB Weld because I like that it has the stir stick in it, the wood stir stick, and then it also has a cap on it, so when you just use a partial amount, you can screw that cap back on. I also have used Gorilla Glue, but it has that tiny little cap on here that you have to push in, and then I'm afraid it might pop off. So I like this one because it has a screw top. And then this is going to be the eye hook for the top to hang it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make this. Okay, before I start gluing this together, I also wanted to mention that I usually use E6000 for my bird baths. But I've been using epoxy for the bird feeders because it's a hanging weight. So I needed something a little bit stronger so it wouldn't fall apart. But E6000 works great for bird baths because the weight is setting on top of each other. So I've been using epoxy, plus it dries faster, which is nice. Okay, since the epoxy dries so fast, I'm going to get several things ready first in case I have extra epoxy left over. I could just dump it into something else. So I'm putting colored gems inside of here. Add a little more color. I love this color. And I'm going to be putting this on top of here, this little dip bowl. Okay, so that's ready to glue. But the first thing I'm going to glue is I'm going to put the hook inside of here like this with epoxy. I usually use putty, but I have this white clay that I'm going to use, and I just put it into the bottom of here, and then I pour the epoxy into it. And when it dries, it's really strong. Okay, so I rolled up the clay into a ball like this, and then I just drop it into the bottom like that. And then I put the hook in here, the eye hook, and that holds it upright enough to where I can pour the epoxy in. And when the epoxy dries, that'll hold it really well. Alright, so I'm just going to pour the epoxy in here like that. I'm going to use all of it. This was a partial one that I already had open. Alright, so I'll pour that in here. And then I'm going to pour the rest in here and fill that up. Okay, and I'll put this bowl on top of here. And then I have a level, so I can make sure that it's straight. I'm going to make sure that's level. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a few gems into here so that in the sun it'll reflect a little bit of color. I don't need to fill it up, just put a few in the bottom. If you put too much in, it'll be really heavy. So, about that much. Gives it some color. And then I'm going to glue this on top of here, like that. Okay, just mixed up a tiny bit. Just enough to put around the edge here. Okay, so this little bowl is almost dry on top of here. I used the level to make sure that it was straight, and that's what it looks like right now while it's drying. And I'm going to glue this on top of here with epoxy. So that could be drying. This one is dry enough so I can flip it over. Okay, so I can pour the rest of this epoxy in here. I'm going to mix up some more, but let me put this on here first. This is going to go like this. And I'll put this on here to weigh it down till it dries. There. So I mix this up to pour in here. Should be enough. Okay, so I'm letting this dry a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and put this hook on this one. That should be dry enough. Take that off. So I'm going to flip this plate over because this is going to be the top part of it. Like that. So I'm going to put the hook on here. I'm going to glue this onto here like that. And I'm going to use this dark gray epoxy JB Weld. It says steel reinforced, so it's a lot stronger than the clear. So I'm going to use that on this hook right here. You're not going to see the color, so go ahead, put that on there. Comes out gray and white. Let's see, I don't know how much I need. It's probably enough. And this one, oh, it stinks. This one actually takes longer to dry. I think it takes about 6 hours to be completely dry. So I'll have to let that dry overnight before I hang it. Okay. Okay. Put that on here. Make sure it's centered and then we'll let that dry. Okay, since that takes longer to dry, I went ahead and put painter's tape on here to hold it in place until it dries. I'll set that aside. Now I'm going to glue this here. See if this is dry enough. Yeah, it's dry enough for me to move it. So I'm going to be gluing this inside of here, and I'll use that same gray epoxy because it's stronger to hold that bowl in place underneath this. It's a flat bottom. So I'll mix up some more of that epoxy. Probably didn't need that. Okay, that was probably a little too much in there, but it's okay. I'll make it work. So I'll put this in here. Okay, so I let this dry overnight. so it's nice and secure. And this is really secure. So that. So another thing I wanted to mention is that I always keep this on hand. It's a super glue and it's a gel in case I need to add a little more support, like I'm going to do between these two dishes. I'm going to put a little extra super glue gel in there to give it support. So it's good to have this. Okay, I need this plate to lay flat, so I'm just using this so I can put this inside of here and that can lay flat, because I am going to glue this on top of here like that with epoxy. Alright, so that's going right there. I think I'll pour it on top of here. Over. Okay. So that should set up in about 5 minutes. And then I'll glue the rest together. Okay, so I let that dry for a little bit. It seems pretty strong. And I also put some gems into the top here with epoxy to give it a little more color. Okay, so now I'm going to glue this on top of here, like that. And that'll be finished. Mixing up the epoxy. Okay. And I'm going to pour the rest of this in here. I'll let that dry. Make sure it's centered. Okay, so this is it finished. I think everything's dry enough to where I can hang it outside. And here it is finished. Got it hanging out in the garden. It looks pretty out here.